My name is Sandro Spano. A couple of months ago, I was working at Macy's Coddingtown in Santa Rosa, California. One evening, I was the only one. Actually, there are two floors, by the way. One, you have an escalator and the elevator. But you're forbidden to use the elevator in the evening once you're closing the register, because apparently, you could be stealing. So you have to use the escalator. So one evening I was all by myself. I had to close 4 registers, which I did. At about 9:50, 9:20, I proceeded to go down the escalator, and there was a pretty much, the steps of the escalator pretty high. They're about this high. And the escalator was not moving. When I got to about halfway down, I twisted my knee and I got pain immediately. I could hardly get home. When I drove my car, I immediately asked my wife to take photos of it. The next day, I called my doctor and they said no, they couldn't do anything because that was a workers' comp that I had to deal with the employer. So I called the human resources and Lisa answered. And she didn't know anything. She didn't know what to do. She said there was nothing to do that she could do. And if I did ask with my wife present, I said, so there's nothing you can do for me. So about 4:30 in the afternoon, I received a call. And it was from a floor manager. And the floor manager said, oh, yes, we do have somebody at the Kaiser facility. And I'm thinking, what is the floor manager doing with an injury? That's the first thing I thought. I'm in trouble. But anyway, it was 4:30, and I couldn't do anything because the offices were closed at 5, so I could not make an appointment. I had to wait until the next day. The next day, I saw a Dr. Matt Anson, who looked at my knee. So she looked at my knee. At one point she said, oh, this looks like gout because it's inflamed. And I said, no, this is not gout. There's nothing to do with gout. I twisted my knee, and that's when I got pain. So she ordered blood work and x-rays. Eventually, not right away, I found out that her diagnosis was pain in the knee, ongoing. The blood work said nothing about gout. In fact, actually, it said that there was no way that the gout could be diagnosed. So that's it. So it stays with. So Sandra Rubio of, I guess they're called themselves risk management department, started to send me a bunch of papers. Actually, excuse me, before that. So she started to send papers after papers after papers, and I said, I looked into workers' comp, and I looked at how much time I had to file a claim. But Sandra Rubio kept sending me papers after papers. Then, one day, she sent me a note. She says, denial of workers' compensation. I said, why? Well, she says that, the gout in the knee is not work-related. But I did not claim anything to begin with. And she knew that I was claiming an injury to the knee. And eventually, when I said, okay, now I didn't know anything about gout, so, I'm a professor, retired. So I got to look into it, and whatever research I made had nothing to do with what I had. Gout was impossible for me to have had gout that evening or thereafter. So I took a bunch of photos. I took, from the difference from my knee and, all of the other photos that looked like, here's the gout. This gout, what gout looks like. So I sent all of these images of my knee and the gout, and, telling that to Santa Rubio that there was no way that I could have had gout. And I had the images to prove. And I said, so gout to the knee. Plus I said, well, one of the things that gout is proven is only proven by the doctor injecting a needle and getting some of the fluid anywhere to take the fluid, and then under the microscope they see if there are any crystals. The crystals indicated that is gout. Now the doctor never did this, therefore, there was no conclusive evidence that I did in fact have gout, despite the images. So, after a while I said, okay, now I looked at what my research, I looked at what they said that I had to do, that I could do with my claim. And the claim gave me a year or a year and a half, something like that. So I took the little form that says a claim, and I took it to Human Resources, where I was supposed to do, and Lisa took it, and she said that she was going to send it. And in my claim, I claimed nothing but knee injury. About a month goes by, and I have a letter from someone else, Natariet Carter. And so she sends a letter, and I'm looking. I said, what's this all about? And there's really nothing much. And then following this letter, there's her letter that says, aha, well, we have to deny your claim because you had gout in the cellulitis in the calf, the right calf. And I said, where is this coming from? I never claimed any injury in the right calf. So, by accident, I had to switch medical insurance to Kaiser. And on my first visit, I had to choose a doctor, I had to choose a psychiatrist and so forth. And on my first visit, they too looked at it, and I all of a sudden see this, no calendar, but anyway, all of the things that Dr. Matt Hansen had done. And what was in Dr. Hansen was nothing but pain in the knee. That means that both Sandra Rubio and Natariet Carter invented this gout thing out of the blue, when in fact, and they, said that Dr. Hansen said that I had gout and that gout was not work-related, and both of it is a lie. So these two women lied. These two women manipulated a doctor's diagnosis and said something that they have a different diagnosis. Now that, to me, if you ask me, is criminal. To take some doctor's diagnosis and say that it is something else, it's criminal. But, so I wrote back again and said, look, I don't know what you are talking about. Cellulitis, I don't know, I'll use, the pronunciation, but I have never claimed that, and I had definitely never had that kind of stuff in my time. So I said, now, what you have now is, now that I know What you have is my rendition, my complaint, and Dr. Matt Hansen verifies through diagnosis that I was just a knee injury and nothing about gout. Now these two women rely on the fact that I realized later, because I knew right away really that cases like mine that just go undone or because there's no way that I could hire a lawyer. A lawyer would cost me more than the case would have given me. So they rely on the fact that they know that people like me will not be hiring a lawyer, so therefore they do whatever they invent some bullshit and they keep it there and do nothing. I had no response to when I said, look, here Dr. Hansen, and I actually sent a copy to her report, and I had asked Sandra Rubio. In fact, that's what triggered me to do something, because I'd asked, I said, hey, wait a minute, have you gotten the results of the lab results, or blood results? She said no. And I said, how can you tell me there's something here and there when you don't even have the blood results? And because the blood results are the ones exactly, a fusion, excuse me, that's the word, a fusion to the knee. That means that you have water to the knee, and that's when it's gout. And if there are crystals, under the microscope, that confirms. Without that procedure, there's no way that you can confirm gout on anything. So, that was it. I said, look, now, the thing is here. Here's what Dr. Hansen said, and here I'm sending you a copy. And what I claim is exactly what Dr. Hansen said in the diagnosis. So I don't have to do anything. I don't have to do any doctors there and there, because they say, oh, well, So I said, hey, I don't see why I have to see a doctor when I have my claim and you have Dr. Hansen's diagnosis. That was it. These two women disappeared. Nariette Carter and Sandra Rubio. They did everything all by themselves. They invented some kind of injury. Then they said that kind of injury was not work-related. And of course, I didn't have that kind of injury. I never claimed that kind of injury. So, of course, it's not work-related, since it's not work-related to me. So, that's it. They disappeared. And this is why I'm doing this video. Actually, more than one. Because I'm going to send it to them, because I don't like to get fucked by people like that. I've been a college professor for 20 years, and I don't think that two women like that, as piece of shit, are going to do it to me. So yeah, I'm still not going to get a penny. But the public is going to know what Macy's does when some of these workers have an injury. The public will know that the people who look at those injuries do everything possible to dismiss it. They invent some kind of problem when that problem was never claimed to begin with. And it is all about them not paying for my injury, how many days, whatever. Okay? So Sandra Rubio and Nariette Carter are the ones who worked, and by the way, I have the letter right here. And I can read it, so that way we will know that that's exactly what came to me. Worker compensation benefits are being denied because Dr. Matt Hansen's report that dated 10/23 that the gout right thigh cellulitis is not work-related. Who the fuck claimed right gout cellulitis? That's when I said, wait a minute, what's it got to do with the price of fish? What's it got to do with me? I never claimed something that you say. Plus, now that I'm sending you, excuse me, but I am sending you the diagnosis that came from Dr. Macy'S, and that says that there is knee injury or knee pain, and this still went about. Now, what do you say about some woman like this who works for Macy's, who go about and invent real close. Yeah. Stay that way. Okay. Right thigh injury, right thigh gout. I've never claimed it, and you'll see from the photos, because I'm going to put the photos that I sent in the video, and you'll see from the photos if there was any way that I claim that I had gout in the right thigh, and that right thigh then was dismissed because it's not work related. Of course, it's not work related because I never claimed it. So here you have it. I might redo this a little short, but Macy's in Coddingtown, in Santa Rosa, and California. I called the HR. Lisa answered. She could not help me. Then in the evening, this floor manager calls me, and I'm thinking, what's it got to do with, a floor manager to deal with an injury at work? I had no idea why. But anyway, she was the one that called. Oh yeah, we have, some doctor. Then eventually the next day I went to see the doctor. The doctor ordered some blood work and some x-rays, and the blood work and the x-rays came back that were pretty much related to a knee injury. It was nothing at all that was mentioned in gout. And the doctor saying, oh well, now these two women twice, once Sandra Rubio said that I had gout in my knee and therefore my claim was denied, when it was impossible, and I proved to her that it was impossible. And eventually I found out, because I went to see, and I said, wait a minute, I'm going to go to the hospital and I'm going to go and take a look. I want to see what the diagnosis was. And sure enough, when I got the diagnosis, and I have it in my paper, said absolutely nothing about gout. There was one mention of gout, and that was that it was inconclusive, and there was no way that the gout could have been detected at any point. So she wrote diagnosis, knee pain, meaning knee injury, and ongoing. So once I found that out, okay, I said, wait a minute. I sent back to Sandra Rubio. I said, hey, I saw doctor's diagnosis, and she doesn't say anything at all about. So she got this other woman who did the same thing exactly, except that now she turned into right thigh cellulitis. And I never claimed that. And I called and I emailed again and I was sent papers after papers. I said, what's it got to do with me? With right eye cellulitis. I've never claimed it, and so there is no way that you can, affix that to me. My claim was knee injury. Dr. Hansen said pain pain in the knee, and that's what it was. And I should have been paid because Dr. Hansen, that's what she said, and she said what I said. But they got clever and they said nothing. They responded to nothing. And like I said, I'm going to post. I already posted one of these videos, and I'm going to post about once a month because I will not be taken for stupid. I have 2 degrees from UC Berkeley, and I will not be taken for stupid from these 2 women who can go about and falsify a doctor's diagnosis. It seems to me, if I know well, that falsifying a doctor's diagnosis is criminal. And I'm saying it today. I think that this thing that these women did is absolutely criminal. And they did it so that they didn't have to pay me for anything.